let's get right into it. How to stop overthinking. Overthinking isn't what you think. Now, what's the key in this sentence? Well, we're trying to stop overthinking, and it's not what you think, right? But this kind of has a double entendre. Overthinking isn't what you think, like, it's not exactly what you believe it to be, but even more importantly, overthinking isn't about you thinking. The keyword actually here is you. Right now, the problem is you think you're doing all the thinking. You think you are doing the overthinking. Just by seeing it the wrong way, you're stuck in that cycle. So, I will show you how to see it the proper way so that you can actually reduce it and stop it. So, imagine you have a cup of some carbonated drink, let's say a soda, and you see the carbonation, the bubbles rise to the surface, then they pop, right? Bubbles just keep coming, pop, coming, pop. It's very similar to your thoughts in your mind. You're sitting there, you have a thought come up, sitting there, you have a thought come up. Eventually it passes, the next one comes up, eventually it passes, next one comes up. So the key to all this is to realize you're not doing the thinking. Thoughts just arise. Now, there's certain factors that will increase or decrease the amount of thoughts that do arise. But the thing is, you're not in control of all of those factors, or even most of those factors, anyways. Some of them you will be. Like, let's just say you're in financial trouble versus your finances are very stable. If you're in financial trouble, you're more likely to have a lot of thoughts about that. Whether it be insecure thoughts or just problem solving, how to go about fixing it, right? Whereas if you're financially stable, you might have less thoughts about it, not be so worried about it. Same goes for relationships, health, whatever. But in any of these cases, you can imagine a person who is in the worst situation that doesn't overthink it. And you can imagine someone in a good situation. Again, let's say they're rich, they're doing financially well, still obsessing over it and overthinking it, right? So it doesn't necessarily come down to controlling the external factors that can potentially increase the amount of thoughts that arise. You just have to realize the carbonation bubbles are going to rise up in the soda. Thoughts are going to rise up in your mind. Another way to think about it is like your breath. Throughout the day, the vast majority of your breaths you do not consciously control. You do not purposely try to breathe in and breathe out. That kind of happens automatically. You let it happen automatically. The same thing is true about your thoughts, except you're a little confused. The vast majority of your thoughts are just coming and going automatically, just like your breath. You are not consciously creating them. Sometimes you are. Maybe you're working on a very specific problem, like a math problem or something to do with work, whatever. In those moments, maybe you're consciously using your mind and creating your thoughts. But most of the time, you aren't. They're just happening automatically, like your breath, like you're blinking. But the problem is, you're buying into them. You're thinking that you are doing the thinking. You think that they carry significant meaning rather than just being another phenomenon, like the breath, like the sounds around you, like you're blinking. So, let's go into how to actually approach this. What do we actually need to do? Okay, the biggest mistake, again, is identifying with the thinking and trying to think or reason your way out of it. Reasoning is just another form of thinking. If you're trying to use your mind and you're trying to use your thoughts to figure out how you can reduce the amount of thinking you're doing, that's obviously having the opposite effect. It's just leading to you doing more overthinking, right? But we're so used to using our mind and our thinking to try to solve all our problems, except if the thinking is the problem itself, that's not really going to work, is it? So, what you have to do is some kind of practice. Now, to differentiate reasoning versus practice, imagine swimming. Bruce Lee said it best, right? You're not going to learn how to swim by sitting on the shore and thinking about it. You can do all the reasoning or study of the mechanics of swimming and hydrodynamics and all that stuff you want, but unless you get your butt into the water and start stroking your arms and kicking your legs and trying to figure it out, you're not going to swim. It doesn't matter how much you think. So that's the same thing with overthinking. You need to practice. But how do you practice not overthinking? To practice not overthinking, what you have to do is practice observing. Just like the drawing I had of the soda and the carbonation bubbles arising, and the person sitting there and thoughts arising, what you have to do is practice observing the thoughts arise without getting sucked into them. That's it. So you're gonna sit there, thoughts are gonna arise like, I need to go to the bank today. Oh, I should write that down. What time was it again that they close? 5 p.m. Blah, 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 blah. Then it's gonna go on to some somewhat related or unrelated thought. Oh, I wonder what this person thinks of me. Oh my God, I can't believe when I did this embarrassing thing the other day. Yada, 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 right? You'll quickly see if you're able to sit there and just observe your mind without getting sucked into it, that you're kind of a lunatic. We look at people that talk to themselves, like verbally out loud, walk around talking to themselves as a little bit crazy or, you know, unhealthy or something like that. We all pretty much do the same thing. Just because we don't verbalize it out loud like this doesn't mean it's not crazy. We're all doing it inside our heads and just absorbed in it. We're barely even seeing or hearing the real world around us. Where we basically have this filter of thoughts going on that sit between us and reality. So, what's going to happen if you sit and you tell yourself, okay, I'm for this next 20 minutes going to not produce a single thought on purpose, consciously, right? I'm committed for this next 20 minutes. I'm not going to think about anything. So you sit down, probably less than 4 seconds into it, some thoughts start popping up. Oh, my leg is uncomfortable, or this is so boring, or how long is this going to take? Why am I doing this? Is this even going to work? I should just get up and do something else. Thoughts like that. Thoughts about anything. The key is to realize you are not the thinker. You are not the one thinking those thoughts. If you think you're the one thinking those thoughts, you're going to buy into them. You might get up and leave the practice, or you just might get absorbed into them and feed into them. And that defeats the whole thing. So you're just going to sit there. You're just going to be the observer. As thoughts arise, sounds, sensations, whatever, you're just going to sit there, let them come. They'll pass in their own time, or they'll change into something else in their own time, and you just keep observing. Don't judge it. You might be tempted to be like, oh my God, my mind is crazy. Has it always been like this? I can't believe. Again, you're just feeding into it if you're judging, right? That's just more thinking. So just let it be. Maybe a little smile on your face, eyes closed. And you'll find that regardless of how strong your intention was in the beginning, that you told yourself, I'm not going to produce any thoughts consciously for these next 20 minutes, and I'm going to observe any thoughts that do come up, you're still going to get lost in thought. And it's going to happen a lot, right? Very likely it's going to happen many, many times, even within the first minute. And that's if you even have the awareness to catch yourself that you're lost in thought. You might be lost in thought the entire practice until the timer rings 20 minutes in. If that happens, that's okay. At least once the timer rings, you're aware that you're lost in thought. And maybe tomorrow, when you practice your next 20 minutes, you'll come to that awareness somewhere within the practice, maybe just one time. And that will already be a big step forward. So while you're doing this practice, it is helpful to have some type of anchor to come back to when you're lost in thought. It can be your breath. You can pay attention to the sensations of your breath. The way I started was laying down, having my hand on my stomach, and feeling the rise and fall of every breath. Whenever I got lost in thought and realized my attention isn't on the sensation of my stomach rising and falling anymore, I bring it back there, get lost again, bring it back, slowly get better at that. You can choose your sensation of your breath around your nose area. You can stare at a candle flame and do that instead. Anything. As long as you have something to ground your awareness back to so it doesn't go fluttering away and being lost in thought. So, just to wrap this up, how to stop overthinking. You got to stop buying into the belief that you're doing all the thinking. You've got to avoid trying to use reasoning or the mind or thinking your way out of overthinking. That's not going to work. That's just going to feed more into it. It's going to make things worse. You have to do an actual practice, just like any real skill, sewing, biking, soccer, basketball, programming, surfing, whatever. You actually have to do some type of genuine practice. You can't just think about it or read about the theory or whatever in order to pick up that skill. The same thing with overthinking. I've given you a basic approach on how to do that practice. Take 12 to 20 plus minutes every day. Sit, observe your mind, create some distance from it, build that awareness, and only with practice and awareness will your overthinking decrease. Hope you give that a try. Thanks for watching. See you next time.